It's salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we've been talking about the last couple days of Warlock basically breaking wild yet again. We've got Stealer of Souls, Warlock running amok, just doing terrible things, making it basically play Secret Mage or play Warlock or try and counter one of those. Basically a horrible meta, but I wanted to go over today of why does Warlock always seem to be front and center of these wild decks. Got this meme posted on Reddit. Like Warlock decks that it always seems to be a thing, and this one's even missing one of the decks that got nerfed. And why does it keep happening? Warlock just historically has these decks that are just super dominant, create these horrible frustrations, and I just kind of wanted to go over each one of them, what they did and why they were so good, and maybe go over why it seems to be Warlock that's front and center. And I'm not even going to include decks like Reno Lock, Cube Lock, Discard Warlock, Mechathune Warlock. We've got Cute Lock in the mix these days. There's so many different Warlock decks that have just done so well in Wild. I'm not even including those just because they're very strong, very good decks, but not really these oppressive juggernauts in the mix. And just think about Warlock's got to be like the king of Wild. Just so many ridiculous things. So first, let's talk about Naga Warlock, the first of the Juggernaut decks, the one that really had someone take an ad out on the Hearthstone subreddit to try and get it nerfed, and it was all built around Naga Sea Witch. And you'll note that a lot of these combos are built around neutral cards that other classes can abuse in very similar ways, but Warlock just had the ability to draw. Warlock's got incredible draw tools, and with Warlock, you can draw a lot, then play your Naga and your Giants. That's a big help. The only other classes that really made use of Naga, you had like Naga Hunter that could do that, like the Joust Beast that could help them draw their Giants, and that kind of worked. You had tracking as well. And then I believe there was like a Naga Druid deck as well that went, because you had some decent draw options and ramp and stuff like that for Druid. But overall, it was the Warlock deck that was oppressive, and it eventually led to Naga being nerfed to 8 mana, so you couldn't like a giant swing on turn 5 with Naga. But overall, it was mainly the card draw was the big advantage for Warlock, as why this deck was so ridiculous. Next, we had Snip Snap Warlock, which came into fruition after, I believe there was like the buff event during Saviors of Old Doom, or right before Saviors of Old Doom came out, which added Snip Snap. It was quickly discovered that Summoning Portal plus Mech Warper plus Snip Snap led to infinite zero mana magnetic mechs, and you could either kill your opponent if you had a mech on board, or just make a giant board of mechs and then taunt it up, and you were basically only limited to your ability to play, you know, a certain amount of mechs per the animation times. It was usually like 40 or attack or something, unless you did some like manipulation and stuff outside that people actually got banned over. It got messy, people cheated, but yeah, Warlock was able to abuse Snip Snap like no other, basically because of Summoning Portal. You also had Glinda as well, Glinda Crowskin, which allow you to play multiple Mech Warpers and then play Ziliaxes for 0 mana, as well as Snip Snap. So there was like multiple ways to get these infinite things, and Snip Snap Warlock is arguably the best deck of all time in Wild, not only for its how powerful it was, but its consistency. It was just incredible, and again, it utilized a lot of Warlock's good card draw, but it could abuse like Plague of Flames, Defile, all these insane early game board clears that other classes don't have access to. Warlock has the best early game clears. Defile, Plague of Flames, and Dark Skies are 3 of the best, if not the best. Well, they just are early game clears in the game. No other class has access to anything like that, and that's what's carried a lot of these decks, because Warlock has access to this, and coupled with card draw and mana cheat. It's like you couple those things together, you're gonna break a format pretty often. And Snip Snap was eventually nerfed, where we saw Snip Snap, or the echo effect, no longer be able to reduce to 0. It had to be 1 or more. So yeah, you couldn't really abuse that anymore. Next, we have Darkest Hour Warlock, which you have the 6 mana spell Darkest Hour, where you destroy your own minions, and you could cheat out some other ones. The thing is, Blood Bloom exists in Wild when this card came out, which allowed you to cheat a bunch of mana, basically on like turn 4, a bunch of imps, Blood Bloom, Darkest Hour, and then you have a giant board and you win the game. really frustrating experience. And again, through the early board clears, you don't even have to run any good early game minis. You don't need like a Doomsayer or a Misters and Mixtures or anything like that. Warlock, again, Defile, Dark Skies, Plague of Flames, whatever. All those really good cards. You just stall until you get to that turn where you could go Bloodbloom, Darkest Hour, win the game. This deck was never ultra top tier like the other ones, but it created a super frustrating experience that created these these swing turns where you just couldn't possibly ever recover, and it was like turn 5 and 4 and 6, very similar to what we see right now with Soul Stealer, which is why I think it'll get nerfed pretty quickly. Again, enabled a ridiculous amount of mana cheat as well as the early board clears to kind of get it there. We then very shortly had the Wretched Tiller Hysteria combo thing that was also available to Priest, since Hysteria is a dual class card, but Warlock was able to abuse it a lot better, mainly due to card draw options and better early board clear. You could even couple it into like a Reno Lock deck. You have multiple win conditions, and just, yeah, you would play Wretched Tiller, you would make it immune, and then you would play Hysteria and you would kill your opponent. And it was just, a 3-card OTK, which is just, not really anything Blizzard wants to see in the game. And the further it got refined, the better it was going to be. And it got nipped in the butt really quickly. I think it took like a week. And again, might be an idea of how quickly we might see a nerf for Soul Stealer. But yeah, again, basically early board clears, card draw, really enabling that combo. We have Darkglare Warlock, which has been nerfed already, but is still, to this day, arguably the best deck in Wild, even with the Soul Stealer stuff going on. And it basically abuses an absurd amount of mana cheat. Through Darkglare, though, it's through the card itself. It has infinite mana cheat as long as you can self-damage. And while Warlock has some of the best card draw that also likes to self-damage, a Cobalt Librarian. This card is just absolutely ridiculous. 1 mana, draw a card, deal damage to yourself, and it just synergizes incredibly well. And that's basically what gets it there. You have the mana cheat with the Giants as well, but really it's the infinite mana generation, ridiculously cheap card draw, and all of that makes Darkglare get there. And then lastly, of course, we have this new Soul Stealer Warlock, which again just abuses ridiculous card draw, ridiculous mana cheat with the Soul Stealer, as well as like the immune stuff from Mal'Ganis and Bella Delusionist, as well as the really good early board clears like Defile, like your Dark Skies. And there's all the combos that have broken Wild. That's a lot of them. Some were oversights, I would imagine, by Blizzard. The Snip Snap stuff, Soul Stealer, Hysteria, all of those seem to have been oversights that were relatively quickly addressed. Not so much Snip Snap, but the other two. And we're gonna hope that Soul Stealer gets addressed pretty quickly. But basically, take a look at all of the different Warlock combos. The main theme here is insane mana cheat, as well as really good card draw have really enabled a lot of this, as well as the early game board clear to basically let you get there. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with good board clears. That's great. I don't think you ever nerf that stuff. I would be really upset if they were like, well, we'll take their board clears away so they can't do this broken stuff. But when it comes down to it, what really breaks the game is when the mana cheat gets out of control, with Naga cheating out a bunch of Giants, Darkest Hour cheating out a giant board, Snip Snap infinite cheating of echo effects, Darkglare infinite mana regeneration, Stealer of Souls infinite mana, and the only one that wasn't really infinite mana is Hysteria Warlock. It was just a broken interaction. But basically, Warlock just seems to get the infinite mana cheat treatment, and it just breaks the game. And maybe Blizzard needs to be a little bit, just a little bit more careful when they're printing these mana cheat cards, to maybe just have one time this turn, like I suggested this nerf, if we are going to see a Stealer of Souls nerf, to just on the first card you draw or the next card you draw after you play this card or whatever, this turn that you can cheat. Compare it like Cho'Gall, a legendary minion for 8 mana. It cheated one thing, and it was a spell. And that's a legendary effect. Now we have a rare that can infinitely cheat stuff, spells and minions. It's a little bit silly. It's a little bit ridiculous. Yes, the immune thing makes it happen, but I don't know. It creates this design limit space when you can infinitely cheat stuff unless you want to take all immunity out of the game. But what if there's some insane healing that Warlock can utilize and still cheat out of? It's all this different stuff that it can create a problem with. So basically, the moral of the story: stop letting people cheat so much freaking mana with Warlock. It breaks their game. And yeah, hopefully we see this deck addressed. But I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at why this keeps happening, and maybe learn from these things and not repeat it over and over and over like we keep seeing. So if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.